Recently, we've heard the Republicans, including Donald Trump, denigrate some people of color in positions of power, including Vice President Kamala Harris, as being DEI hires. DEI stands for diversity, equity, and inclusion, and that refers to practices and policies intended to support people from varying backgrounds and give them the resources they need to thrive in the workplace. Ladies and gentlemen, DEI is good. But to say that Harris is in her position solely because of her race is insulting both to her and to President Biden, who selected her as his running mate 4 years ago and as his potential successor. Joining us on the podcast today is Patrick Jones, aka Mr. Jones X, a prominent diversity and inclusion expert, activist, and political commentator dedicated to equality and human rights advocacy. As a leading TikTok influencer, he engages a global audience with content that champions the underprivileged and marginalized. So, Mr. Jones, thanks so much for being with us today on our podcast, where we focus on progressive politics and the key social issues of our times.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. Now, can you give me let's talk first about Kamala Harris and the fact that Biden stepped aside and cleared the way for her. And now the Republicans are doing everything they can to denigrate her and knock her down and to call her a DEI hire. So what are your thoughts about all of that?
If we have to look back to the history of this country, we can look at the anti-Blackness that is pervasive and always has been like a cancerous underbelly of this society. I think that it's like the original sin that we never addressed, and people would rather just not talk about it and hope the fire puts itself out, which obviously is not a valid approach. If you had an issue in a relationship with your significant other or spouse, not talking about that problem is certainly not going to solve the issue. It would just continue to fester and eventually boil over. And I think we've seen the boiling over at a couple of different points in American history. But I think now the time has come where it's just been far too much for far too long. And we're seeing a lot of America, especially the younger demographic, saying, you know what, enough is enough. Nobody else did anything about this. We're going to. But to label her, as you said, a DEI hire, I think is absurd. They tried the same thing with Ketanji Brown Jackson.
Yeah, for sure they did.
Yeah. But I think one of the major issues that we have is not just the anti-Blackness, but it's the fact that we don't really respect women in this country. Yep. And so when we look with those two, we look at that intersection, right? That one, she's a woman of color, but two, that she is a woman, both herself and Ketanji, right? That's where we see all of the hate and the vitriol and of the things that she says, them talking about her laugh and the way that she talks, and so on and so forth.
Her laugh. At a recent rally, Trump called Harris crazy, stupid, and a lunatic. And he said that she's not smart, she's not intelligent. He repeatedly derided her laugh, including saying that it's career-threatening and that it's a laugh of a person with some big problems. So expand on what you think about that statement.
Women, again, because this country really doesn't value women, aren't really allowed to experience or show joy. Like on the one hand, they say, we want you to smile more. But on the other hand, you can't be too excited. You can't be too big. You can't be too small. And it's a constant issue that women face within our society. But aside from that, this idea that a woman, especially a woman of color, could be doing so well against a white, cisgender, heterosexual, real man, as he would like to believe himself to be, right? In his mind, he could not possibly make sense of it. And so it's that amygdala response, right? It's that fight, flight, freeze or fawn response that he's experiencing. He's just, no, this can't, the America can't like this person. They can't want this person to be their leader over me.
The thing is that picking between him and J.D. Vance, they seem to be going after every demographic and knocking them down. I don't know why they're doing that. Trump going after women of color,
Mm-hmm.
Vance going after single moms that
Calling
like
them cat
cats.
ladies. Yeah.
And what's this about postmenopausal women? I saw some headline that Vance was talking about postmenopausal women. Do you know what? Did you see that?
I did not see that headline, but this is the same guy that told an audience that, hey, I think that even if the relationship becomes violent, that you should stay and work it out for the benefit of the children.
Yeah.
Have you ever talked to any children who grew up in a household that experienced domestic violence and what it's done to their mental well-being? I think
me,
that
have I?
no, and I'm saying not you personally, colloquially.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like
Globally. Right.
for him to make a statement such as that, a statement of that nature,
Mm-hmm.
that you should that they should stay together for the sake of the kids. When studies, a vast array of studies, have shown that children that grow up in homes that experience domestic violence go on to either be a party to domestic violence themselves or be the abusers.
Now, Trump has also said, and this cracked me up, that felons shouldn't be able to run for president. Do you agree with that statement?
So you're probably going to be shocked by my answer. But no, I don't agree with that statement. Okay. Really quickly, J.D. Vance says that postmenopausal females exist to raise grandchildren.
There you go. That's it.
That's nuts. That's nuts. But no, I don't think, I don't believe, you know what I'm saying, essentially in like carceral punishments, so to speak. I think that there's a lot of people that are felons through crimes of necessity.
Right.
And not necessarily crimes of opportunity.
Right.
Now, with that being said, I think that if you're committing crimes of opportunity, if you're just taking advantage of other people or taking advantage of the system, in the manner that he did with these 34 felonies and all of the other fraudulent acts and acts of physical violence against women, then in that respect, yeah, I agree. I agree that people that do certain things should not be able to run for president. It should be disqualifier. But if somebody was out there and when they were young, they stole X amount of products so that they could sell them, so that they could provide food for their family to eat, and it was a crime of necessity, I can't see myself being on the side of this person doesn't deserve to be president of the United States because they did whatever it is that they had to do in order to survive.
Yeah. Okay, I get that. I thought it was a little bit of conflict.
I do agree that it is very hypocritical.
Yeah.
But from the standpoint of wanting us to amend, so to speak, our criminal justice system, but address the things that cause crime in the first place.
Right. Yeah.
Look how many men and women are sitting in jail for marijuana possession to this day. When in many states it's legal, and in even some of those states where it's legal, there's people in jail for possession. And then there's other people that are free selling it legally now.
Yeah, that's just nuts. That makes no sense at all. Zero.
Yeah. So if somebody was one of those people who sold marijuana and got a felony, were to run for president, why shouldn't they be able to run? Especially like now that we've legalized it and things of that nature.
For sure. Okay, I got you. Okay, so I wanted to ask you about this. What are your thoughts about the Republicans' efforts to denigrate, belittle, and take away rights from the LGBTQ plus community, including ending same-sex marriage?
It's interesting to me that they believe that this is somehow a new phenomena, that members of the queer community somehow just appeared out of thin air.
Out of thin air.
As if
just material.
Yeah, just all of a sudden now there's trans people. All of a sudden, you know what I'm saying? Now everybody is gay. They really believe that 10 years ago, it just started happening.
Right.
Trans people, non-binary people, gay people, lesbians, you name it, have existed for as long as societies have existed. For as long as Homo sapien has been a thing, we've had people who didn't necessarily fit a gender binary or who were necessarily heterosexual. Not even other groups, other species within the animal kingdom are heterosexual. There's tons of other gay animals, tons of them. And then the other thing that I always question, I've read the Bible. in its
Okay.
entirety, multiple
Okay.
times.
Okay.
Jesus himself, not a single time, speaks in the Bible poorly or outwardly about the LGBTQI plus community.
Mhm.
And so I just think that it's odd. They say they want limited government.
Right.
And then we look in their 600 pieces of legislation across the United States looking to prevent them from getting medical care or even existing. What part of the limited government is that?
Yeah, exactly.
And nobody can convince a child or anybody else to be gay or to be trans. I promise you, there's not an amount of money or smooth talker on this planet that convinced me to be attracted to men.
Okay.
You know what I mean? You couldn't convince me.
Okay.
And the other part of this that I find immensely odd, there's been studies done that say that people that are the most homophobic or transphobic are also the people that find themselves the most attracted to the other sex or to trans individuals. And then we host the RNC, and the RNC shuts down Grindr, which is a well-known pickup app for the queer community. Okay. I said, that's very interesting.
Yeah, it is. Hey, you know what? I saw a clip of you interviewing people, asking them if they had ever met a Homo sapien. It was freaking hysterical. Why did you do that?
So I was doing that to address like how uneducated the American populace is.
Okay.
Like I was just doing it to just show that, you know what I'm saying? Like we don't even understand basic words. Like we don't even understand that we are in fact Homo sapiens. And so that's one of the very first videos that I had that went super viral. Yeah. But I ended up losing that account. But I still had the video saved in my phone, so I reposted it. But yeah, that video, so many people, so many other people stitched and duetted it and reposted it. It was nuts. But I just wanted to highlight like how ridiculous our education system is.
Well, it was just funny as hell. Oh man. It reminded me of some of the videos that you see where MAGA people are interviewed and they're asked why do they like Trump? And they don't know really. I was watching the rally in Butler when he was, quote, shot. And a lady that was right in the very front of the audience said that she loved coming to Trump rallies because it made her feel good. And she asked the reporter, how does it make you feel? And the reporter was a young woman, and she looked at her and with this look of disdain and said, you need to answer the question. It's not for me to answer. Yeah. And she just went on and on about how great it made her feel. I do not understand for 1 second how that could make you feel good listening to that creature.
I can explain.
Explain. Go ahead.
This is a thing that I don't think a lot of people really grasp. And it's not intentional, right? But it's because they don't have the information. But when you arbitrarily place a certain ethnic or racial group at the top of a social hierarchy, right? Then they believe they're entitled to certain things, to be treated a certain way, to have a certain access to resources. And so when they end up not being successful, not hitting the lottery, not being Donald Trump, not coming from wealth, so on and so forth, they still believe that they're entitled to it and that they should be treated the same way that he is treated, right? Okay. And when they're not, now you have to find out why. Now you have to find out why. You have to identify, well, why am I not getting this?
Right.
Oh, it's the immigrants.
Yeah.
It's the Black people.
Yeah.
It's the LGBTQIA plus community.
Right.
This is the reason why I'm not getting the things that I believe that I deserve. These people are preventing me from having what I am entitled to. And they also believe that if they're one lottery ticket away to being able to hang out with him at Mar-a-Lago. And
it just goes how stupid they are, because he doesn't give a crap about them, not
at all. And so if he speaks their language, because he's pointing at all these communities and telling them that they're the problem.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly.
And that's why it makes them feel good, because it makes them feel like they aren't, you know what I'm saying, just like the rest of these people.
Right.
The other makes them feel good.
all of that is contributing to all the hate and division that we're experiencing these days, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Now, Trump's mantra is make America great again. And when he says that, what does that mean to you when you hear it?
The first question I always ask, and I'm sure you've heard this before, is when was America great for all Americans?
Yeah.
When was it great for all Americans?
Mm-hmm.
When was it great for Indigenous people?
Mm-hmm.
When was it great for Black people?
Yeah, right.
When was it great for the Latin community?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it wasn't always necessarily great for Asian groups, right?
Exactly.
Even people that are considered white in the United States now, Irish, Italian, people from the Swana region, or what we would call the Middle East. All of those people have been ostracized, demonized, denigrated throughout American history. So where are we pointing at within America's history and romanticizing it? Like that was the time.
Yeah.
And I think with that message, this Make America Great Again messages, just goes back to the previous conversation that we were just having in terms of a society where we make sure that it is understood that cisgender, heterosexual, Christian, white men and women are at the top of society and everybody else are the others.
Yeah, I just don't understand this. Back to the point you made a minute ago. I just do not understand how it is. I live in South Carolina, and in the rural areas, I live in Myrtle Beach, a tourist area. But if you go out into the countryside, you see all these broken down trailers, people with rusty old pickup trucks, and great big old Trump flags in the front yard and plastered all over their trucks.
One lottery ticket away.
Yeah, that's it. I just don't understand how it is, because this guy, he doesn't want help for kids. He doesn't want child care support. He denigrates people with education. It's just a freaking incredible to me. I do not understand how it is that those people could be supporting this guy. And they're just believing the lies that he spins all the time.
It's cognitive dissonance, but it's also because he's telling them, hey, that the reason that you're not successful is because immigrants are coming over here and they're getting all the things that you're entitled to.
Yeah, I wanted to
They're
talk to you.
They're getting the job you're entitled to. They're getting the handouts that you're entitled to.
Right.
We have to spend the money on them. We can't spend it on you. I think it was Lyndon B. Johnson specifically who said, and I'm sorry if I'm misquoting, but give them something to look down on and they'll literally reach into your pockets and hand you their money. I'd love to get the actual quote. Yes, it was Lyndon B. Johnson. And this is one of the greatest quotes literally ever as far as I'm concerned. If you can convince the lowest white man that he's better than the best colored man, he won't notice you're picking his pocket. Hell, give him somebody to look down on and he'll empty his pockets for you.
Sounds like Trump took that to heart.
Absolutely. If you can just make everybody believe that it's not conservative policies doing this to you, that it's not corporations doing this to you, his billionaire buddies, that it's brown people or that it's queer people doing this to you, then they'll buy all your t-shirts and your hats and your gold shoes and your flag and your bumper sticker and your keychain and your bobblehead and your NFT.
Yeah. Did you buy any of those items?
Oh, no way. There's no way. I've never actually bought a campaign paraphernalia for anybody ever.
I thought that all Black people like high top sneakers. And so high top sneakers with big Trump's logo on them, you guys would want that, right?
Listen, that had to at least got him 20% of the Black vote, at least, right? Because that's what they're touting, that they'll get 20% of the Black vote. I'm like, you guys got to be like, you haven't increased your voter base at all over the last three elections.
Yeah. Yeah. So what do you think about his claims that he's done more for the Black people than any president in history, even more than Abraham Lincoln?
It's interesting. It's interesting that he believes that Abraham Lincoln did a whole lot for the Black people. Like,
he doesn't know anything about history anyway.
Because historically speaking, Abraham Lincoln wrote an extensive letter to a friend of his named Horace Greeley. And he said, hey, look, if I could end this war without freeing any slaves, I would. And I could end it by freeing all of them, I would. Or if I could end it by freeing some and keeping the others where they are, I would. I don't really care about any of that. I'm just trying to end the conflict.
Wow, I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, the reason that he ended up essentially freeing or writing the Emancipation Proclamation is because he was losing to the Confederate soldiers, and he needed Black people to fight in the Civil War
Yeah.
so that they could win. And they did, because
Yeah.
Black people had something to fight for. They freed
Yeah.
themselves, essentially. But moving forward to Trump, because you don't know that history, I guess you could try to say something of that nature. But the HBCUs, if you actually read the legislation, it said $250 million over the course of 10 years
Okay.
to colleges that service minority groups.
Right.
That's all colleges.
Right. That's true.
And then 85 million of that was supposed to be earmarked specifically for HBCUs, historically Black colleges and universities.
Mm-hmm.
That was less money than they were getting prior to that bill. And if you stretch that out over 10 years, that's only 8.5 million,
Yeah.
8,500,000 over the course of 5 years. So that's not a lot of money. They were
No.
getting $250 million a year prior to that.
Yeah.
And now they're getting 16 billion from the Biden-Harris administration.
Okay. And you can expect that to probably increase when Harris gets to be
Kamala
president.
gets to be president.
Exactly. Now let's talk a little bit about Trump's You brought up immigration a minute ago. What do you think about this recent statement that his goal is to deport millions of immigrants back to their home countries?
Trump is like one of those shoot first, ask questions later type of guys. Like I'm just gonna say this thing. I'm gonna make this rash decision, and in my mind, it makes perfect sense. But I don't think that he's honestly looked at the economic impact that would have, and also one, just the resources it would take alone to round all of these people up and deport them from the country. It would cost probably in the billions. And then also, are we just going to be stopping people in the streets and asking for their papers?
Yeah,
but then
this is back to Nazi Germany is what this is.
Absolutely. The brown coats.
Yeah.
But the second part of that is, right, in terms of economic impact and just social impact, we're going to be breaking up families because some of these people are going to be citizens and some of them not, right? So now you have more people who are citizens having to rely on services from the government in order to sustain their family because you just deported mom or dad to another country, right?
Yeah. Doesn't he realize that would really mess up business?
And that's what I was going to say. So now we have to start looking at our service industry, our agricultural industry, our infrastructure sectors.
Exactly.
And you're talking about an economic impact that would quite literally send us to a depression era.
You know what? I'm from Maryland originally. And
DMV.
In Maryland, crabs are a big deal, right? Now, I don't mean the sexual.
No, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah. I'm from the DMV.
Okay. I'm talking about hard shell crabs, soft shell crabs. And who picks those crabs? Who picks them? It's mostly immigrants. Yes. Mostly. Okay. And it's really funny because I was reading the other day that one of the areas in Maryland that is one of the strongest Trump areas, they're also huge suppliers of crabs. Now, don't they realize that if Trump deports all these people that are picking crabs, that their livelihood is going to go right down in the toilet?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It's just preposterous.
Yeah. Listen, big builders, we're talking about these mega farms. Yeah. Our issue has never been with the immigrants. We understand that from an economic standpoint, we've always understood, and it doesn't matter what side of the aisle you sat on, because even Reagan ran his campaign on opening up the border both ways. Yeah. Him and George H.W. Bush both felt that way because they understood the economic implications. Yep. Why Trump ran his entire presidency the first time on immigration. Yep. It failed border policy. Yep. Obama left with a net negative immigration. He deported more people than came into the country.
That's amazing.
And so what is it that you were fixing? And why didn't you have a bill to present day one? Whereas Biden presented a bill on February 2nd, 2021 to address immigration. Yep. Literally days after he was inaugurated. So again, these are fear-mongering scare tactics. He has no intentions of ever doing anything with the border.
Yeah, that was exemplified not long ago when the Republicans and Democrats in Congress came up with a compromise bill, and then Trump ordered the Republicans not to support it because it would screw up his campaign. Basically, that was it.
He would have nothing to run on. He has no
Yes,
policy.
exactly. Exactly. So there you go. All right. So and put this all into a capsule. What would you say the danger to this country would be if he should win this election and Republicans would take over Congress?
I think that we would see one of the most egregious deteriorations of human rights that this country has ever seen. I think that a lot of people don't really understand or haven't really followed who the Heritage Foundation is and what these Christian nationalists believe in. I like to call them Christo-fascists, what these people believe in. And people believe, and it's because they convinced them, people believe that they were getting rid of affirmative action because it was helping Black people. But that's not the reason they got rid of affirmative action. Affirmative action predominantly helped white women. They were they made up the largest demographic of people that benefited from that legislation. And then they overturned Roe v. Wade. So now women have to have children that they didn't necessarily want to have. So if we're starting to piece this together, so now you don't want them in the workplace and you don't want them in higher education, because by removing affirmative action, now you're making it okay to discriminate on hiring them. And then they plan to target, in this next administration, no fault divorce. Making white women specifically solely reliant on white men. And that's the intention. And when they say make America great again, that's the image that they're looking at.
Oh, yeah. They want the white women to be home ironing and
cooking,
cleaning and taking care of the kids, while hubby goes out and earns a living and brings home the bacon, so to speak.
But in this economy, how is that even possible? That's not even a sustainable practice.
It's preposterous, and it just goes back. It just goes to the point that they want to go back to the 1950s is what they want.
But they also intend to get rid of the Department of Education.
Yeah, exactly.
And so how are these men going to be able to achieve earnings such that they could take care of an entire household and children without any formal education?
Exactly.
Listen, I don't think that the foresight of the Republican Party has ever been great. And that's an issue. That's conservatism in a nutshell. Like, I just want to keep things the way they are, or I just want to go back to the way things were because that's where I was comfortable, not even considering that the rest of the world is moving past us.
Yeah. Okay. I wanted to give you an opportunity to tell us about your clothing line that you have.
I have a couple, actually. I have one that's called Tough. It's Transformative Uprising for Freedom. Essentially, it's like people wearing their protest, social justice messages on your clothes. Okay. But one of the things that I'm most proud of about my clothing line is that nearly all of my products are made from 100% recycled material. And if it's not 100% recycled material, then it's ethically sourced and semi-recycled material. And it's a locally owned print shop. Okay. They do all of my print and distribution right here in Florida. And it's owned by a minority woman. Okay, cool. And I'm just trying to make the most ethically sourced product I can from all aspects. But in addition to that, we use the money that we make from our clothing line and from my social media presence. A lot of that goes right back into the community. Just the other day, school started for my kids. We went to Walmart and they have these starter kits, like school supply starter kits, like 68 pieces or something. We bought every single one that they had on the shelf, like every one that they had available. We bought them all and then brought them up to the school and donated them. Kids that don't. Often, me and my partner, we go to Publix, the grocery store. We do typically pick one of the lower income areas and we go to the Publix there. We buy a whole bunch of grocery store gift cards and hand them out. And then we identify a few people that are in the store with their shopping carts. And when they get up to the line, we buy all of their groceries. Oh, how cool is that? Where can people find your clothing line that you have? So it's tough.ltd.
Okay.
tough.ltd. I also have one called trustmebro.wtf. And if you follow me on any of my social media platforms, you'll see it in my link tree. But yeah, Trust Me Bro is more comical stuff. Like just the things that people say, like the math isn't mathing, or we do have a Trust Me Bro shirt. So yeah, like it's just a bunch of funny things.
Okay, cool. All right. Listen, man, I really enjoyed talking to you. Do you have anything else you'd like to add before we sign off?
Yeah, really quickly. I think that in order for us, I think that Kamala is a good start. I don't think necessarily that it's the solution, right? But I think that it's a good start.
Mm-hmm.
I really feel like we as a society really need to start focusing on seeing each other through an intersectional lens, right? Like black, white, red, blue. And when I say black, white, I'm talking about racial phenotypes. And when I say red, blue, I'm talking about political lines. We have more in common than we do in difference. All of us just want to live a relatively simple life with the people that we love and enjoy this very short time that we have here on earth. And I think that how we start to end the divide is literally starting with the children. Our children go to school in this country, which is very diverse, with a diverse group of individuals. There's no reason why your child can't learn how to say hello and goodbye in the language of another child that goes to the school.
Sure.
When they see them every day.
Sure.
Or thank you and you're welcome. And there, gay people exist and trans people exist. And I promise you, none of them are going to knock on your door and ask you, have you heard the good news about the LGBTQI plus community? They're not trying to recruit, right?
Are they trying to take your kids and turn them into gay kids?
Well, there's tons of gay children that grew up in heterosexual homes, trans children as well, right?
Yeah, I'll tell you what,
conservative ones at that.
You can count my son as one of them.
Well, there you go. Conservative ones at that. You know what I mean? I think that we need to honestly take a look at who we are currently as individual citizens and who we want to be. And it's going to start, like I said, it starts with the kids. Let's teach our children not to be bigots, that other people actually exist and it's okay that they exist and we can all share this land together. Let's be an America that we can actually all be proud of.
Okay. I thank you for that. I really do. And if there's nothing else, I guess we'll just sign off. Is that it?
That's it.
Okay, my friend. Hey guys, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this Lean to the Left video and you found it interesting and informative. Please visit on a regular basis and check out our interviews with guests on topics that focus on progressive politics and the important social issues of our time. Now, our interview shows stream on Mondays with special episodes on Thursdays. And you can check out upcoming shows, guests, and topics at podcast.leantotheleft.net. Subscribe to our audio version there and to our video shows here at YouTube. And follow us on social media. Facebook at Bob Gaddy and the Lean to the Left podcast. Now it's two. Bob Gaddy is one Facebook page, and the Lean to the Left podcast is a second Facebook page. Twitter at Lean to the Left 1. Instagram at Lean to the Left 1. TikTok at Lean to the Left. LinkedIn at Bob Gaddy. And YouTube at Lean to the Left. Now, I hope you'll support Lean to the Left as well so we can keep things going. Just click on the Donate tab at the top of the leantotheleft.net homepage and contribute by buying me a cup of coffee. That'll really help and would be much, much, much appreciated. Now, this is Bob Gaddy signing off for Lean to the Left. Thanks for sharing your time with us.